settled in. Good morning.
Oh,
It's dark today.
Oh, we'll get in the sun, maybe.
Do you see that though?
Yeah.
Oh, extra chocolate.
Some extra vanilla. Ooh, big bump.
I've started listening to this song. Like, this song's on my playlist now, so it just
So fun. Good morning. Welcome.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Woo. We are on episode 21.
21. Yay.
21 of The Drive. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
And I don't even think we talked about this week. We hit 450.
We did.
Likes
I
on
just
the
saw
page.
that.
We have people that are following us but don't like us. I don't understand that. I don't know how that works.
Do we?
Yeah. Like 15 or something.
Oh, they don't like the page. I thought you meant like don't like us, like as people. And I'm like, who doesn't like us and why? What do we do? Just if you get all sensitive, I'm like, oh, why don't they like us? What do we do?
And did you see me like, yeah, there are some that don't like us.
So some people don't like the page, but they follow.
But they follow it. So either way, we're good with it. But we've committed to doing this organically, and it's been
really
fun,
cool,
and we're
really fun.
like super grateful to you guys for sharing it out like you do, and all that kind of fun stuff. So good morning.
So I'm trying to go to it so that we can talk to you guys as we're rolling here.
Yeah, and we had our company Christmas party last night.
We did. It was so much fun. I shared pictures. We had a really, really good time.
So if you're in the Akron area, there is a caterer called Anytime, Any Plate, and they basically do like an inside. I heard them describe it to someone else as an inside food truck.
Oh, that's
like an indoor food truck.
Yeah.
So they have a little space in a place called Acronym, which is a local microbrewery, and we like it. It's close to the office, and yeah, we had a fun night.
The
food
best
was so good.
burger I have ever had in my whole entire life.
And you weren't the only person that said that last night either.
Right. Somebody else said the same thing. I promise y'all, this burger was I've never had a burger this good ever. And like I put on their reviews on their page, and trust me, I had a lot of burgers. I've had a lot of burgers. But there was no burgers like this one. It was so good. So you gotta try Anytime, Any Plate.
They're so nice. There's like super nice people and
really personable.
Yeah. So it was good. It was fun.
So there was that.
So what are we talking about today?
So
we kind of talked about it at our Christmas party last night a little bit.
We
stopped talking.
So you guys know we try not to talk about this stuff beforehand, and we kind of just want to flow. And we got to talking about it last night, and we had to stop ourselves. Like, okay, no, just stop. We're gonna save it for the show. So last week during the show, we were talking about New Year's resolutions and kind of keeping your word to yourself and all of that good stuff. And we talked about positive reinforcement. And then Jim, right?
Yeah, from HR Talk.
Yes, Jim from HR Talk asked us, so what about consequences or negative reinforcement?
And he always, by the way, I don't know if you're like into HR, and even if you're not, that podcast is hilarious and it's super informative. And he really asks such thought-provoking questions. I mean, I was on there, but then I listened to it and how he works with other people too. Mm-hmm. And it's just, he's got great questions.
Yeah, so that was an amazing question, and it made us think because it wasn't something that we had thought about. So we decided to do a little bit of research, figure out what we like amongst ourselves. So we also had more motivation because yesterday we got to round out Shelly's Hall of Fame, kind of like everybody she's interviewed during the course of the year. She had us come on and do 15-minute lives.
Which, by the way, huge shout out to Shelly. She's another one who's got a podcast for
women over 50, a life redesign.
Right.
But I'm not over 50. I'm not even almost 50.
I'm getting closer. What I say yesterday, I'm closer to 50 than I am 40.
Right. But it's a really great group for just women in general.
And she just hit 1,000 yesterday.
Congratulations,
in the group. And it's very supportive. There's certain things, if you're on here, Shelly, let us know. There's certain things that's so funny. She says, I don't do makeup tutorials. I don't talk about menopause. And there was one other thing, and I'm like, I love it. Because I'm sure that's something that a lot of the over 50 groups talk about.
That's true. So it's a really cool group. Like I said, I don't mind. I actually love being a part of that group. The energy in there is so great. But so we did that live, and we talked about. I can't remember the title. It was a really good title.
Okay, so the title is, and so we should probably say you love. What are they called when they have the letters?
Alliterations.
Yes. So Brenda loves alliterations, and I love just playing with words. So the title was Moving Beyond Mindset and Motivation and into Metacognition. Oh. Look at her face.
Yes. I was like, yes, it's so wonderful. I love it. But
so, and what that was about, and I think we want to do like a
mini recap.
Yeah, because there was, if we don't say so ourselves, there was some really good information there. But we always talk about mindset and motivation, and especially this time of year, or as you're getting into the New Year, setting New Year's resolutions and goals. I know, I realize that. Sorry about the
blowing.
Fan. But the I'm totally losing
New Year's resolution.
New Year's resolution. I'm realizing how nasally I sound.
Do you?
Yeah, because I had
feeling sick.
No, I had beer last night, and
that makes you.
Yeah, I think I'm allergic to it.
Oh, that sucks.
True story. I think I am.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, but Anyway, so the mindset and motivation, we talk about that a lot, but with what we do with steer, it gets beyond that. It's so that you understand the mindset and the motivation.
Right.
Because sometimes we feel like, I don't have enough willpower. I don't have, whatever it is. And it's when you move beyond that and you get into the metacognition, then I didn't mean to go down that big rabbit hole with that.
It's fine. Welcome. LaTanya just joined. Hi, LaTanya.
Yeah,
welcome.
Hi.
So we talked about that in that group, and that, of course, got us back onto, so what would we do as far as negative reinforcement, or what did we call it?
I think that was, negative
Something
reinforcement.
About consequences. Negative consequences.
Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So the first thing that we talked about is kind of what is positive reinforcement. What does that mean for you when you think about positive reinforcement?
Oh, you were asking me. I'm sorry. I was like, this tastes a little different.
And so you guys can tell us what positive reinforcement means for you.
So you're asking me what positive reinforcement means to me.
Right.
Well, I instantly go to parenting. Right. And I think it's when, for me, if like Trev does something, if he does something well, then I'm like, hey, great job holding that door open for that lady. Right. Or, that kind of stuff. So that's where positive reinforcement really, for me.
So it could just be a kind word. Not necessarily something like a,
right. What I mean? And I guess I don't. So when I hear positive reinforcement, that's what I think of. I think of words. Mm-hmm. Now, when I hear reward, though,
oh wow,
to me that's a different thing. That might be where I'm like, hey, like we don't do this, but you got good grades, you get to, go out to dinner or whatever. Like,
right.
He doesn't get tangible rule, but to me, so those are different types of positive reinforcement, but different words mean different things within that category. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. I never thought about that deep, but I did feel like it could be either or. Like a positive reinforcement can be a physical, something that you give someone or something that you allow them to do, or an allowance for yourself. Like as we're talking about in this instance, if I get this report done by Friday like I want to, then I'm going to go to the movies. I'm going to treat myself to the movies or something like that.
And I think that's kind of what, obviously along these lines, when I think of positive reinforcement for myself, mm-hmm. I think it still is. I thought it was going to be something different, but as I started down that road, I'm like, no, I think it's still the same thing, where I'd be like, good job, Kat. Like, that's what I would say in my own head.
But we also talked about how what we realize is that neither one of us are particularly driven by positive reinforcement, which is a little bit odd, and now I want to look into it and figure out exactly what that's about. But
we talked about the whole Gretchen Rubin thing too. Well, right. I don't want to jump into that too early, but I think that might be part of why. That might have
something to do with it.
Because it's, we did the MCOR thing, and that was how, that's a motivation. It's an assessment that helps you figure out your motivation.
Right.
And for us, we're definitely motivated by things like helping people,
right.
And kind of the whole we talked about how like just marking things off of a list is
right.
That's a reward enough. Like I don't
exactly.
And I've never been like, okay, I'm gonna read, or I'm gonna take a bath, or I'm gonna have a glass of wine. Like because I don't deprive myself of those things.
Right.
I give them to myself if I want them.
Like if I want to do it, I'm gonna do it. That's
Yeah.
it. No, I'm just playing. But yeah, no, I actually agree with that. So of course, lots of people are motivated, and I mean and we'll get into one way that you can measure and figure out exactly how you're motivated and why you're motivated. We'll kind of get into that after we go through negative. LaTanya said, I tend to do more if someone reinforces that they like it or that it helps.
Yeah.
So so that makes total sense. Like to know what somebody wants you to do, or that it was helpful for them to go, oh, okay, well, we'll do that again then.
Yeah.
So yeah. That's
good.
It
feels good. And it feels good because, see, this is, if we want to get into it, the brain science of it is when somebody says those words, that positive reinforcement, you've got the chemicals that are going to be released in your brain or your body, wherever.
Right.
And, like,
it's like dopamine.
It is, yeah. And it will, your neural pathways will fire in a way, you know what I mean, that will help it.
Almost like a high.
Yes, for sure.
Right. Yep.
Exactly like a high, actually.
Right. I was going to say, like, yeah, it is a high. So that is why positive reinforcement works for some. Because of to get that feeling. You continue to do whatever it is that you're doing so that you can continue to get that. So being nice to people is like getting high. No, I'm just kidding. I was
kind of. That was the stupidest laugh. Did you hear me?
No, I didn't. Did you?
Yeah, it was really bizarre. I don't know where it came from.
I missed it. Darn it.
You said hi, and I was like, I don't know. Maybe that was it.
I'm gonna go back and watch. So negative consequences. This was something that I found interesting too.
Right.
So what?
I'm kind of glad we talked about it because I think there was a lot that we uncovered when we.
Yeah.
So okay.
So when Jim asked the question, we both kind of went, what would you do? What would a negative consequence look like? And how would you, like you said, how would you trust yourself to carry out whatever it is that you said, okay, if I don't get this report done by Friday, this is the consequence. What would force you to actually do whatever the negative consequence is?
Right. So we talked about how I am part of a group called ADHD Rewired, and Eric Tivers, I went through his coaching program, which is if you are someone who has a hard time managing your ADHD, it's like the best investment I've ever made in myself.
Wow.
Hands down. Anyway, one of the things that he talked about in the group was I just realized we've mentioned 4 different podcasters. 3 different podcasters.
We did.
So cool. So anyway, so Eric, his podcast is ADHD Rewired, and he talks about one of the things that he's done is written out $100 check to a political party that or a charity. What do they call it? Anti-charity. Because we actually looked it up and someone else said they did the same thing. So an anti-charity. So if there's a charity that you would never, ever, ever support, you write a $100 check, whatever it is, you write a check out to them, you give it to someone who wouldn't be like, never mind, so don't give it to me, because I wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't do it.
I wouldn't.
I would.
No,
you told me to do it. That's what I'm about to do.
Yep. So, which goes into the Gretchen Rubin thing, which is kind of cool. So, so then if I don't tell you that I've gotten X done by this day, then mail that check.
Woo! That would definitely make me strive to get done whatever. I do not want these people that I don't really support to get my money.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it would definitely motivate
me. That negative consequence would definitely motivate me to get things
done.
But
say I'm not doing that.
Right. See, I'm I don't know, but wouldn't it motivate? If you really wanted to get something done, I think it would.
It would motivate.
It would be and then if I didn't get it done, it would crush me to know that I just sent money to support an organization that I don't support.
Right. So we realized that there were instances in our recent past where we both implemented something similar. You want to go into yours?
Yeah, so mine is with that ADHD Rewired group. I had a project that I was working on. Now I'm not sure that I want to say what it is.
Well, don't say what the project is.
Okay. We'll just say it's a Christmas gift for my family.
Yes.
And it was And I was procrastinating on finishing it. And I got to the point where that procrastination was like, I'm not going to hit the deadline to get it to everybody in time. And it's really important that I do. So I used external accountability, where I reached out to them and I said, hey, if I need to work on this project, told them what it was. And I said, if I don't get it, if I don't come back in here tomorrow to let you guys know that I've done it, blow up my inbox. And they were, that everybody was checking in, how's it going? And I was giving them updates, and I pulled an all-nighter, but I got it done.
I'm telling you, the ping of Facebook Messenger constantly will be enough to get anything.
See, and that doesn't even bother me. I just totally tune those things out.
Oh my God, that ping, ping would drive me crazy. Like, it's done. Sheesh. Yeah. But that would be enough. That would be a consequence.
Yeah, so they checked in, and then I went back and told them, and thanked everybody. So that external accountability is a huge, huge, huge motivator for me.
Right. And I did not realize it. Oh God, that wasn't supposed to happen.
Uh-oh. Oh. Please stay tuned for... No.
So I used it too recently. So I recently had a breakup, and it was because the guy had done something super shady. And of course I shared it to Facebook because I wanted to enlighten people and just kind of motivate people who were going through similar tough times. But I also was very specific about what he did. And the reason that I did that was, oh God, that was not supposed to happen.
Yeah, you were, I know. I'm like, what's happening? Last night you were all emotional, but we were also eating some really good food. And, but no, and I didn't know that's why you did it.
Right. So I posted it to Facebook and was
you said you weren't going to cry on here anymore.
You're crying. And I was specific because I knew that was a form of accountability for me. The pushback that I would have, like, I'm always one of those people who are like, oh my God, they're dating again. Oh my God, they broke up again. Oh my God, like I'm very much that person. And I felt like holding myself accountable to everyone would be a good way, because I do have a history of allowing people to, you know what I'm saying, not be very nice to me. So that was a way for me to hold myself accountable.
And forgiving them and letting them back in.
And letting them back in, so, and doing it all over again.
Yeah, so. And I was really surprised. Sorry, I don't mean to be like non-supportive. I hope everyone knows that I really am a supportive friend. I'm like over here laughing. You're crying. You're crying.
You're ridiculous. You're ridiculous. You're an awful friend. I'm never talking to you about any of this stuff again.
So no, but I was really surprised and also really proud of you that you recognize that that's something that could help you, because I had no idea that's why you did it. And I'm super private about my stuff, so right. For me, I'm like, I wouldn't share that. But then when you talked about and I also understand, even though I wouldn't share it, I don't begrudge people of sharing whatever it is they want to share.
Right.
Because I think everybody has their own reasons for doing what they do.
Right.
So, but I loved your reason for it. It was really, to me, it was really inspiring to know that you're like, I'm going to break this pattern.
Oh, yeah. It's a pattern that needs to be broken. And I know that, unfortunately, this sounds really bad, and I should probably explore this, but for whatever reason, if it's just me, if I keep it to myself and I'm like, nobody knows, so I'll be fine, I'll go ahead and give them another shot, I'll give them another chance. But if other people are like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying?
I was like, I'm stopping it on light. What do you mean?
But if I have to answer questions about it of people who I actually care about and who are going to ask me the tough questions, I don't want to necessarily have to do that. So I'm like, and it makes me second guess it. So it's a little bit deeper, because it's not even to say that if for whatever reason I was determined to give it another go that I wouldn't.
Right.
But it definitely forces me to think about it, to give everything a second thought, to reconsider, which I did. And I was like, deuces. So yeah, there was that.
Yeah. So, and I think when you said you should explore it further, I think it goes back to the whole Gretchen Rubin thing. I really do. And
LaTanya said, I love accountability partners. It's like, I don't want to let someone down, and I want to do what I told them. And that's what it is. Like, you don't want to let, and that's something that's really, we might have to talk about that, because why is it so easy to let ourselves down, but we don't want to let other people down? Because like I said, if it were just me, if I had never told anybody, it would have been very easy for me to, you know what I mean, to forgive and go back and allow it again. But it was because I know that it had somewhat of an effect on the people who I cared about that I was like, no, I don't think I want to do that again.
So that would be a really cool thing to steer, because it's, you know, it goes back to, what are you telling yourself? What are you saying? What's the story that you're telling yourself?
Oh, let's steer that this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is Christmas, so I don't think we're going to steer.
Yeah, that's why I steered this week. And apparently I'm still a little raw, so let me work through that a little bit. I'll figure that out.
No, but I do think it's thing, you know, it's whatever we're telling ourselves. So what are we making it mean if I let someone else down, and what am I making it mean if I let myself down?
That makes sense. But you keep hearing us refer to this whole Gretchen Rubin thing. So, like we said, we were trying to figure out why different motivators were different for different people. And we kind of tied it back in with The 4 Tendencies, which is a book by Gretchen Rubin. Really advise you to read that book. If you have not read it,
we did a book club where we did, and that was what the second one, wasn't it? That we did the second book we read.
I think the first was the
four agreements. Yeah, and then we did the 4 tendencies.
Right.
But it talks about what you're motivated by, what you're what you're motivated by. So the 4, I was thinking there was another word in there, but
so the 4 tendencies, and these are like behaviors that people exhibit. So the 1 is obliger. So that's just what it sounds like. Rebel, that's just what it sounds like. The questioner, that's the same. And then upholders, or usually the mediators, like, kind of deal, right? Upholders, or is that obligers?
No. So here's what I love about this. My family, so my mom and dad and my son and I represent all 4 categories.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so my dad is the upholder, and that means he's gonna do what he says he's gonna do, and it goes both for, if he's telling someone else he's gonna do it, he's going to uphold it. If he tells himself he's gonna do it, he's going to uphold it.
Right.
My mom is an obliger, and that means that the external accountability, she wants to do things for other people, but she may let herself down, but she would always be the person, and most people fall into the obliger category. Right. Those are the people pleasers of the world.
Yes.
So she falls into that category. My son is a questioner,
and they question
everything. But he's also very logical, you know, so he's like, but this doesn't make sense. So things don't, if it doesn't make sense, and I still think he needs to be an attorney. I really do. But, you know, he can argue a point where, you know, you're like, oh, yeah, okay, all right, I guess you're not grounded, you know.
Never mind. Go ahead.
Right. I hadn't thought about it that way. So, yeah. So he will question. But I would say that he is an upholder for himself, because he's really disciplined.
Right.
But he's a questioner externally, and probably somewhat internally too. And then I'm a rebel. I rebel against myself and other people.
Oh my God, everything. She rebels against everything.
I don't like when somebody tells me what to do.
She don't like it when she tells herself what to do.
I don't like when I tell myself
crazy.
So
I fell between upholder and obliger.
Yes. So do you think it's an internal, like, so upholder to everyone else, and
obliger to everyone else? No, I think it just depends on the situation.
Okay.
I think it could be either or. Latanya said, LT said, when is the book club? It used to be called Mimosas and Mindset, and we would meet on Saturday mornings, and we didn't get a really good turnout for it.
Well,
so
we did. Your mom and sister, we had a blast.
Yes, my mom and sister came to every single one. My mom drove everybody crazy, but in a very fun kind of way. Everyone except for Kat, because they're both rebels.
Yes.
But it actually has been something that I've thought about us possibly picking back up at some point this or next year in 2020. So just kind of keep an eye out for that. And I also thought about maybe having different people host it, so it could be, do you know what I mean? So it can still be alive and well, Mimosas and Mindset, but it doesn't always have to be us if you can't make it or whatever. So I'm thinking about different ways to do that. Lisa was going to ask, can you be all 4? Oh,
probably in some way.
I think you probably can in some way, but I do think that the way it's explained in the book is that everybody will have one primary.
Yes.
One primary one.
And then, and don't they say is there a secondary?
And a secondary, yes, primaries and secondaries.
Because she'll say if you fall into these categories and gives like a rundown on it. And you can find a lot of this online without reading the book.
LT said it must have been too early. I think it was like 10 on a Saturday morning, and we were like, because we wake up at like 5:30 every morning, and we're like, by 10 people should be up and moving by then.
We're working at like 5:30 in the morning a lot. Hey, I just want to let you know I thought about da 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 da. So yeah, we've thought.
Yes, you are absolutely right. I think that's what it was. I think it was too early, and then we didn't want to do too late once everybody got to doing their errands for the day. So maybe that's something you can help us with. Come up with a good time for that, and we can figure that out.
People, we had a lot of
but we didn't, because that one was margaritas and mindset, and we didn't have a good turnout for that either, for whatever reason.
We noticed we always want to drink with our stuff.
Right. See a theme here? Common theme. Common theme here.
That's funny.
So we figured that it was these tendencies that helped to determine exactly what our drivers were. When we went back and kind of thought about exactly what we read about in the book, that was very helpful to us in figuring out exactly why we were motivated in different ways, whether it was positive or negative.
So for me, being a rebel, one of the things I realized, and I think we talked about this in maybe even I feel like it was like the first or second episode, about how, like, when I created that calendar, it was crazy what it did to me, where I was like, nobody's going to tell me that I need to be here at this time and do this at this time.
But even you set the schedule. She rebelled against the schedule so bad.
It's
hard.
Still
hanging up in the. Yours still hanging up in your office? Mine is still hanging up in my office. I don't even think I looked at it since we created it, and I don't know. You like influenced me, and I was like, "That's right. We don't have to do anything." That was the obliger in me. You're right. That is not what we have to do, and we're not going to do it either.
I'm going to follow this rebel. I feel like I want to start wearing. Can I just wear your black leather jacket?
Oh my God! The lady at Chameleon called me a sexy biker. She was like, "You got this like sexy biker vibe going on here. You look like you came to make some trouble." So Jim said, "What if you hold yourself to a high standard, but the perception of, say, half of your coworkers is negative, and they want to hold you accountable for things you haven't done, things that don't pertain to you, but you're taking the heat? How do you deal with that at work?" I think that's more of a healthy boundaries conversation, and possibly a toxic people conversation if their expectations are out of line with what your job responsibilities are.
Yeah, so that would be, I mean, the HR person in me, and LT, by the way. So LT and JC definitely. Oh, look, LT and JC.
Oh, cool.
So you guys connect for sure. So pull out the job description and be like,
see
not
this?
In there.
This is what I'm supposed to do. Not all that. Thanks.
This I've done. But to me, that's what it is. If I'm understanding the question correctly.
That's what I was going to say. I'm going to read it again.
Okay.
What if you hold yourself to a high standard, but the perception of, say, half of your coworkers is negative, and they want to hold you accountable for things you haven't done, things that don't pertain to you, but you're taking the heat? How do you deal with that at work?
Yeah, I don't know that that's a healthy boundaries thing, because if they're holding you accountable for things you haven't done, so that means, and they say they've got a negative perception of you. Is that what it said? No.
Yeah.
So sometimes I think what happens is, like, people get involved in different things, I don't mean like in a bad way, but you might have something that happens and it's really hard to shake a negative perception. So for me, when I was at my last corporate job, there were some things that I was falling short. I was not performing in the way I should have been. Definitely not making.
Shut it on yourself.
And I'm supposed to there, because when I look back and I do kind of an autopsy of that job, I was in a really bad place emotionally, mentally, and I brought that to work, which is the whole reason we do what we do, because I recognized that because I didn't know how to deal with what was happening in my outside world, I was bringing it into work, and it was negatively impacting. My performance.
Right.
So that was something that I probably would have never been able to shake. I don't think.
What was something that you would
my
okay.
underperformance.
Right.
So I think sometimes that stuff does, if we, I think, like, I had to get really honest with myself, and it's super uncomfortable to be like, yeah, I sucked as an employee when I worked there.
Right, and that's what I was going to say. Like, with your situation, it sounds like rightfully so. Like, their perception of you was accurate, but it sounds like in his description, they're not necessarily accurate.
It sounds like a mean girls thing, and I don't mean, like, I'm not trying to do the girls thing, but I'm just saying, like...
And LT had a really good answer. She said, have a conversation with your boss about his expectations, and if he thinks you're meeting the standards, or hers. If he thinks you're meeting the standard, that's what matters. And that's why I said kind of a healthy boundaries thing, because have you been doing things outside of your job description that you should not have been doing, and now they're expecting you to do it because that's what you've been doing?
Okay.
Or that's why I said, or possibly toxic people, because if it's a mean girl situation, then that's a toxic situation. That's a toxic work environment. So figuring that out. So you hire us to come in and talk to your staff and figure out exactly what's going on.
We help people to steer. We help people to steer their thoughts. So, JC, I'm pretty sure I tagged you yesterday on... I asked a question about what does it mean to you to manage up? What does, to provoke a conversation around managing up? And there's, I don't know that this would be a manage up situation though. Never mind.
Wah, wah.
Rewind. Edit this part out, please.
Edit this part out. Never mind. We quit. No.
Where's rock slides? Where did you see that sign that said rock slides?
And then LT said, and if you want, ask individual co-workers why they're worried with your job duties. Right. Like, why are you worried about what I'm doing? Like, how about you worry about you?
I wouldn't recommend saying it that way.
Oh yeah. Probably not. That's why I suck in corporate America. I thought we had another question. No, that was the same one. Okay. I'm going back and forth because sometimes it pops up there before it pops up here.
Okay. So I think, what's our recap?
Oh, LT said that's managing laterally.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that would be a great topic to have on here too. Maybe not. That's an emotional. Never mind. Sorry.
I don't want to talk about managing laterally. I don't want to talk about that.
I saw your face. I was like, never mind.
That's a very HR kind of situation.
Yeah. I love it. I get so excited about it. I love talking about that stuff.
Well, I know you do. Jim said purely hypothetical, of course.
Of course.
It's always hypothetical.
Of course.
It's a friend of a friend of a friend.
Yes. I heard that this happens sometimes.
So, with the recap, basically read the 4 tendencies because it's awesome. It will help you in all of these areas. But also, just figuring out, like we always get back to, we've been saying this, and this is our motto going into 2020. You have to know yourself to grow yourself, and no one knows what motivates you like you do. Figure out what your motivation is. If you want to figure out why that motivates you because you're brain geeks like we are, go ahead and figure that out too.
Yeah.
Figure out what motivates you and just do that. If it's positive reinforcement, then figure out what that system looks like for you. And if it's negative consequences, then figure out what that system looks for you, and it might behoove you to have an accountability partner.
Yeah, and I think kind of piggybacking on the you've got to know yourself to grow yourself.
Yes.
We've got a challenge that we're going to do for 2020 that we're super excited about called the Key Challenge.
Yes.
And we'll post in here the I don't know if I posted the Know Yourself to Grow Yourself in this page. I think I did it from SYLC.
I don't think you did. You did it from SYLC.
So the what we're doing is asking 365 questions throughout the year. So a question a day, every day, to get to know yourself a little bit better, because we all have blind spots. Just like in a car, we have blind spots, and you don't know what's there because you genuinely cannot see it.
Right.
So this helps remove some of those layers, and it's not that anybody's doing anything wrong that they don't know themselves. It's part of our brain's protection and efficiency and all of that.
Yes. We learned more about that in our master class. It's available in the drive. It was like episode 18, I think.
Yeah. So the Key Challenge will be those questions, and I will also here's a accountability thing that I'm putting out there. My word of the year is consistency.
I'm looking at you like, where's she going with this?
Yeah. So my word of the year is consistency, and I knew that I wanted to post every single day, but I didn't want to do what I used to do with the quotes and the, getting the super emotional stuff, because I just don't, that's not who I am anymore. I mean, I am, but I don't share it with everyone. in the same way. Like, I'm not motivated by it, but I'm motivated by, because that
I am. Y'all getting all the emotional stuff from me in 2020.
Well, and you know what? Because for me, that was part of my healing journey of what, you know what I mean? Anyway, so now I want to do these questions, and that's going to help me with my word of the year, which is consistency. Yes. And I'm accountable to all of these people that for a whole year.
Yes. And I text messages from us every single day.
But we'll post it on social media platforms too. But not everyone gets. Yeah, you can get the text too. So because not everyone is on the platforms. But yeah, so we're excited about it.
Do we want to talk about what key means, or is that next week? I think that's next week.
Next week, yeah.
So next week we'll tell you why it's called the Key Challenge and why.
That was a divine download.
It was. Oh my God, it felt so good. So next week we'll talk a little bit more about the Key Challenge, and I don't know what the main topic is going to be, but it'll be something around the Key Challenge and why it is that. Probably just talking more in depth about that, exactly why we're doing it and
like the
how we're doing it.
Yes. Like what it is.
Self-aware about ourselves and why it's so important, because that's the point that we're driving home all year long.
You said drive. I'm not going to honk right now.
Yeah, don't do that.
No.
Whew, just don't make me do it. But so my word of the year is ascension, and I feel like in that is that whole, again, just kind of getting to know myself a little bit more, and not just growing beyond, but growing up as well. So that's what that's all about. So if you haven't picked a word of the year, pick a word of the year and base your year around it to at least give you some kind of a foundation of kind of how you want to move forward, or something that you want to work on in the year. It's been very helpful these last 3 years.
Or some people, did you say you're doing just a quarter? No, I'm
planning only for the quarter. I'm only planning per quarter. I'm not planning out my whole year.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good idea. So, yeah.
Okay. So if you guys have any questions at all, we will post the Key Challenge information on the Drive page, and we will be back next week to tell you exactly what Key stands for and what that's all about, and how we're going to grow ourselves in 2020. Love ya.
Have a great day.